words evangelical and Christian right are in the news a lot. But what do these words really mean? And are there more to the terms than what the stereotypes may lead us to believe? I'm James. Let's talk about it. Hi friends, my name is James, and once again I'd like to welcome you to our discussion, and as always it's a tremendous honor to have you with us today. I'd like to, as usual, invite you to subscribe and click the notification icon so you can receive our new videos as soon as they come out, if you haven't done that already. And for today's discussion, I want to start with a question. When you hear the expressions evangelical or Christian right, what comes to your mind? The word evangelical is a beautiful, beautiful word. It means bearer of good news or glad tidings. But sadly, the way it's used today, it gets bogged down with a lot of needless political baggage. Now, these days it's often associated with Evangelical's alliance with Donald Trump. And while certainly that is an important facet to the discussion, it's really beyond what I'm looking to do today. For those who want to explore that in more details, I will refer you to the work of Dr. Michael Brown. He has commented on it at great length in both writing and in videos, and he takes what I feel is a very well-balanced approach to the topic. And here's a video you can get started on that. I personally don't like the expression Christian right for the main reason that it brings up a lot of really nasty stereotypical images. I have done a blog post on that, and I'll include a link to that in the description of the video if you'd like to look at that further. I would encourage you to. My own journey has been different than most. At different parts in my life, I have been both what you might call a bleeding heart liberal, if that's still an expression, and also I have been a very loyal part of what I would call Christian right. But the odd thing is that even in both of those times in my life, my underlying values really weren't that different. Even in my most liberal period, I still knew abortion was wrong. And even at my most conservative, I was still uneasy with the really callous attitude some conservatives took toward the poor. So after a long period of inner turmoil, I finally decided that a consistently biblical worldview will not always fit neatly into left-wing, right-wing subcategories. So I became a political independent, and I've never regretted that. Now, it's true that my political views do still lean right of center. But I like to tell my friends on the other side that I want to see an end to war, poverty, and racism just as much as you do. Now, what the best means to those ends may be open to debate, but I would commend you for keeping them to the forefront of the discussion, because otherwise a lot of them may still be forgotten. It may surprise some of you, but the Christian right and the progressive left can largely be traced back to the same person. William Jennings Bryan was a congressman and a 3 times Democratic presidential candidate. Now, on one hand, by the standards of the time he lived, he was a very liberal Democrat. He championed progressive causes such as workers' rights and women's suffrage. But he was also a devout evangelical Christian who was very concerned about the effects that modernism and evolution were having on the morality of society. Okay, let's forward ahead to 1980. The administration of Democratic incumbent President Jimmy Carter was coming apart at the seams. There were soaring gas prices, a horrible economy, hostages in Iran, and plus, although Carter was a devout Southern Baptist, a lot of the same Christian voters who had supported him were starting to get disillusioned when his more liberal social persuasion started coming to the surface. On the Republican side, Ronald Reagan was preaching a revival of Barry Goldwater-inspired conservatism. Now, while Goldwater's far-right crusade had failed miserably 16 years before that, Reagan repackaged it. He added a sunny optimism to it, as well as an emphasis on a Christian-based social conscience on issues like abortion and school prayer. And aided by Christian leaders such as Jerry Falwell, Reagan went on to crush Carter in the election and become one of the most influential presidents of the 20th century. So for better or worse, the alliance of evangelical Christians and the Republican Party were set. But at the same time, we can't view that uncritically. Did the Republican Party suddenly undergo a religious revival in 1980? We may hope so, but remember, we are talking about politicians here. While there certainly are politicians who are true believers, let's not be naive. Much of the Republican Party establishment would throw Christian voters under the bus in the heartbeat if they didn't know they needed us to win. Furthermore, the fruit of this alliance has been, at best, mixed. As Cal Thomas, who is a popular conservative news commentator and who is a former associate of Jerry Falwell's, put it very well, the flaw in the movement was the perception that the church had become an appendage to the Republican Party and one more special interest group to be pampered. Little was accomplished in the political arena, and much was lost in the spiritual realm, as many came to believe that to be a Christian meant you must be, quote, converted to the Republican Party. So should Christians work for political change? Absolutely. But keep in mind that political solutions can only treat symptoms. Only the gospel can change lives. That really needs to be where our emphasis is. If people know you more for your political posture than they do for your allegiance to the gospel, then maybe it's time you need to re-examine your priorities. I want to give you something that will be a very major revelation to some of you. God is not a Republican, nor is he a Democrat. And if we try to shoehorn him into our political ideologies, friends, that comes dangerously close to idolatry. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep it real.